Today's sew-along is a classy pair of easy-to-sew pants with pleats, pockets, and back waistband elastic. These are the Tremblant pleated pants from Sew Daily. I'm so excited for this video as it's my first sewing tutorial in my new sewing space. A few weeks back, we packed up tons of boxes and furniture and the dogs and moved everything to a new house. It took some time to set everything up the way I wanted, and thanks to today's sponsor, Skillshare, I was ahead of the game. I took a class with Anna Marku, creating a personalized workspace studio interior design for artists. This way I could customize a floor plan assessment, troubleshoot technical challenges like sound and lighting, and map out exactly where all of my furniture and supplies would go, all prior to the actual move. She provided real-life examples of studio designs to help make my own transition journey a satisfying and successful one. I've taken many Skillshare classes for various skills such as sewing, cooking, and digital art, and it's the largest community for creatives with thousands of classes ranging from illustration, photography, business, and more. It's worth checking out, and the first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video and making this sew-along extra special as I got to sew in my new organized space. Join me in creating a quick and classy pant pattern. Let's get started. Here are both of my front pant pieces, and we're going to start with the front pleats. I'm going to take the innermost notch and carry it over to the outermost notch and pin in place. Now that I have the pleats formed on the outside of the pant, I'm going to baste in place with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. To attach the pockets to the front pant, I'm going to place each pocket right sides together with its corresponding front pant piece, placing the top of the pocket 2 inches away from the top raw edge of the pant, and pinning in place along the side seam. Sew these straight edges of the pockets in place from the top to the bottom with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Then we're going to serge the same section to finish. Now that the side of the pocket is sewn and finished, we're going to flip the pocket over its seam and give that a good press. Then we'll understitch, sewing the pocket to the seam allowance underneath with about 1/8 inch seam allowance. Do this for both front pockets. Repeat all of these steps to attach your remaining pocket set to both back pant pieces, remembering to place them 2 inches from the top raw edge of the back pant. Sew those pockets in place with a 3/8 inch seam allowance, then serge those pocket raw edges to the pant. Now that those pocket edges are sewn and finished, we'll flip that pocket over its seam, give the seam a good press, and understitch with 1/8 inch seam allowance. Place a corresponding front and back pant piece right sides together as well as their pockets. And we're going to pin the side seams from the top around the pocket edge all the way to the bottom of the pant. Now we can sew from the top of the side seam around the pocket, then continuing down the remainder of the side seam to the bottom of the pant with a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Now that I have this one set of front and back pant pieces sewn together, I'm going to clip into the seam allowance right below the bottom edge of the pocket, snipping from the outer raw edge to the seam line, careful not to snip through the stitching. Now I'm ready to finish the raw edges along the seam and the edges of the pocket. I'm going to start serging the raw edges together from the top of the pant and around the pocket, finishing my serging where I snipped into the bottom of the pocket. Then I'll start a fresh set of serging stitches from the bottom of the pocket, to the bottom of the pant. This way, when I'm finished, I can press the seam allowances in different directions. The main seam will be pressed to the back of the pant, and the pocket and the top of the seam allowance will be pressed toward the front of the pant. Repeat all of these steps to sew and finish the side seams and the pockets for both sets of front and back pieces. Then we can pin together the inseams for both sets. Sew each inseam from top to bottom with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, finish the raw edges, and press those seams toward the back pant pieces. Turn one set of pant legs right side out and place it inside the pant leg, which is wrong side out. Now that these pant legs are right sides together, pin together the crotch seam, aligning that center seam. Then we'll sew the crotch seam with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and finish the raw edges. For the front waistband, depending on the weight of your fabric, you can choose to apply interfacing to the wrong side. Then we'll place the front and back waistband pieces right sides together and pin the side seams. Sew the side seams with a 1/2 inch seam allowance and press the seams open. Fold the waistband in half, wrong sides together along the center, and give that a good press. Place the waistband right sides together with the top raw edge of the pant, aligning the side seams. Pin in place all the way around. We're going to sew the waistband to the top of the pant with a 1/2 inch seam allowance all the way around, except for the side seam areas. At both of the side seams, leave a gap in your stitches of about 1.5 inches so that we can insert the elastic into the back waistband. I've cut a piece of 2-inch wide elastic to half my waist measurement. I'm going to secure one end and lace it through one side seam to the other, inserting it into the back waistband only. Now that my elastic is inside the back waistband, I'm going to secure the elastic in place inside right along that seam, so that the short ends of the elastic extend beyond that seam onto the front waistband by about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. And I'll pin the elastic in place right inside that seam line. Repeat on both side seams. Now we can stitch in the ditch for both waistband side seams to secure the elastic in place. Now we can take this back to the sewing machine and sew closed the gap in the stitches along both side seams at the same 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then finish the raw edges. For the bottoms of both pant legs, I've gone ahead and finished the raw edges all the way around. And I've pressed the hem to the wrong side by 5/8 inch. Now I'm going to sew right along my finishing stitches all the way around for both pant legs to complete the hem. And now the pants are complete.
Thank you for watching this sew along. I'll see you for the next pattern video.